Welcome back to Founders Talk. Today we're going to talk about avoiding the copycat trap. Real startup stories of IP protection. Every founder has that nightmare moment. You wake up, open your laptop, and there it is. Another company launching your idea. Your branding looks familiar. Your feature list looks familiar. Even your tagline looks familiar. Uncomfortably familiar. You ask yourself, did they copy us? Or did they file before we did? In the startup world, speed matters, but ownership matters more. And if you don't protect what you build, someone else will gladly claim it. Today, we're going to talk about how to avoid this copycat trap, not through paranoia, but through strategy. And I'm going to share real founder stories of what happens when startups protect early and when they don't. First, let's talk about the copycat phenomenon. Let's be honest. In today's world, ideas travel fast. You launch on Project Hunt, post a demo on LinkedIn, or pitch at a competition, and within days, your concept is being discussed in other Slack channels, or worse, replicated abroad. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's parallel invention. Sometimes it's pure imitation. Either way, if you haven't filed, you have no ownership leverage. Because in the eyes of the law, it doesn't matter who thought of it first. It only matters who filed first. That's why it's called the copycat trap. Founders confuse visibility with validation, but visibility without protection just invites imitation. So let's learn from a few real stories. All right, guys. Story number one, the robotic startup that waited too long. A robotic startup, we'll call them MechNova, developed an incredible motion control algorithm for industrial arms. They wanted to wait until it was perfect before filing. They told me, we'll patent after our Series A. We just need more proof of concept first. They demoed at a major trade show. Video footage went online within months. An overseas competitor filed patents on nearly identical control logic. MechNova spent more than $150,000 fighting that filing and still lost first mover rights in 3 countries. Their takeaway? The right time to file is before you show it, not after you show it. All right, guys, I want to tell you another story about the AI imaging startup that filed early. Contrast with another team, an AI imaging startup. They were barely out of prototype, but they filed a provisional patent first thing. They listed their algorithm, they described their unique data labeling approach, and they hit submit, all before their first investor meeting. That one filing gave them freedom to talk openly and demo confidently. Pitch boldly. Investors love seeing patent pending on the slide deck. They closed $2.5 million in seed funding, and the same patent family now underpins a multi-million-dollar valuation. They didn't wait for perfection. They filed for protection. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about the disclosure trap. So, what actually triggers a disclosure? Founders are often surprised. Public demos, crowdfunding campaigns, press releases, investor pitch videos, blog posts, GitHub repos all count as public disclosures. Even showing a prototype at a university competition can start the 1-year U.S. grace period and instantly kill international rights. One biotech founder I advised had posted a detailed animation of her device on YouTube. She thought, it's just marketing. Unfortunately, that video became prior art, and Europe said no, China said no, the US gave her 12 months, but she lost the rest of the world. So, the internet never forgets, and patent offices watch the internet too. Rule number 1, file before you disclose. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about how copycats operate. Let's look behind the curtain at how copycats actually move. When your product gains traction, especially on crowdfunding or e-commerce sites, competitors buy one. They reverse engineer it, and they first file it in their own country. Some even create shell entities to file quickly, then later claim ownership of your invention. They don't need to prove you copied them, only that they filed first. You end up spending years trying to invalidate something that should have been yours. And in manufacturing heavy sectors like consumer electronics or IoT, that happens constantly. I once saw a founder launch a smart home gadget on Kickstarter. It went viral. $2 million in pre-orders. 3 months later, counterfeit versions were on Amazon, complete with fake packaging, and because they hadn't filed, customs couldn't even block their shipments. It's not enough to innovate. You have to own your innovation. All right, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about practical protection strategies. So, what can you do to stay ahead? First, File provisionals early. Even a basic provisional locks in your priority date and buys you 12 months to refine. Second, use NDAs strategically. With manufacturers, contractors, or small investors, NDAs still help, but only when combined with filings. Third, keep an invention log. Date stamped notes, sketches, emails, they're evidence of development and help attorneys craft stronger claims. Fourth, layer your IP protection. Combine patents with trademarks, design patents, and trade secrets. Your logo, packaging, and code can all form part of your defense. Fifth, monitor the market. Set alerts for your brand name or keywords. Tools like Google Patents, WIPO, Patent Scope, or Trademarkia can show if someone's filing near your tech. IP protection isn't one event, it's an ongoing discipline. All right, guys, I want to tell you another story. Story number 3, the hardware founder who outsmarted counterfeiters. Let's end the horror stories with a win. A small hardware startup in Austin built a solar-powered water purifier. Before their first shipment, they filed a provisional covering both the design and the mechanical process. 6 months later, knockoffs appeared overseas. Because of that filing, they were able to record their patents with U.S. Customs, and Customs began seizing counterfeits at ports. The copies disappeared within weeks. Their IP filing didn't just protect them legally, it protected their brand and customers physically. That's what happens when protection is proactive, not reactive. Use NDAs with freelancers, vendors, and even marketing teams. And if you outsource manufacturing, file patents in that country before you send CAD files. A company that treats IP like part of its DNA doesn't fear copycats. It trains competitors to look elsewhere. All right, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about building an IP-aware company culture. Founders can't carry the IP torch alone. Teach your team that every innovation, sketch, or code snippet could have value. Build invention disclosures in your dev process. Reward employees who document new ideas. Before you go public, run through this quick checklist. First, have you filed at least one provisional? Second, are your inventor assignments signed? Third, do you know your 1-year deadline? Fourth, have you reviewed all marketing materials for disclosure risk? Fifth, are your manufacturers and partners under NDAs? And six, are you monitoring for infringing filings or lookalike products? If you can check those boxes, you've already avoided 90% of the traps that sink great startups. All right, guys, in closing, the mindset shift. Let's bring it home. You can't stop people from copying your idea, but you can stop them from owning it. Next, every time you share your innovation at a pitch, in a tweet, in a prototype, you're either building value or you're giving it away. Next, the founders who win are the ones who protect before they promote. So before you hit publish, before you order samples, before you go on stage, ask yourself one question. Have you filed yet? Because the copycat trap isn't a story about theft. It's a story about timing. Protect early, build smart, and make sure the only version of your idea that wins is yours.